Hello everybody and welcome to the Rocket Recap for the week of June 12th, 2021. My name is Bass from the Past and this is the show that will recap everything going on in the last week in the professional and bubble scene of Rocket League esports. And this week we're changing it up a little bit. On your left hand side, as you can see on my right, it's no longer the low and high tier events. We've switched it up to Europe and America because we're going to be changing it up a little bit this week, at least for the format. And because of the fact that we're switching it up a little bit this week, I've had to get someone else to cover Europe this week. So without further ado, I want to introduce my guest, Hyferia. Welcome, my friend. He's going to be helping you guys as we cover Europe.
Yes, welcome to the great side of the pond, as they say in EU, of course. I'm sure NA people or any other region would not agree with that as much, but the beautiful thing about EU is that there are a bunch of different nationalities, which then causes a bunch of different leagues for that specific nationality, for that specific country. So starting with that, we have the Serie A, the Italian league, and the top four standings are already pretty secure. There are some shenanigans that can still be happening, but as of right now, in no particular order, because that can all change up. This top four is incredibly close together. You choose Pesce, HG Esports, Team WLF, and their team with Lee Fox, and you choose Pesce with Dead Monster and the like. So a very notable league in Italy right there. And then after that, there's actually an entire Europe tournament and the ESA X Rocket Core 1K monthly, and some notable teams who have qualified already, because the qualifiers only just happened. There were 2 qualifiers, 4 teams qualified from each, and some teams that were actual teams before that were Sandrock and Euronics Gaming. Sandrock, well, probably one of the best Middle Eastern teams, or the best arguably, and then a bunch of different pickup teams as well. But let's look at a clip from Sandrock from that tournament. Defense, but the attack is just not there. Amar, can you get a second tap killer who gets in the way of it? And if you want to have a good example of what you need to do in defense, well, don't watch this particular part, but watch the rest of Athletics.
Oh my word, Athletics making almost every single necessary save out of the...
Sandrock doing what Sandrock does best, in that scoring goals, and phenomenal ones at that. But obviously there are plenty of other tournaments to go around. And I just mentioned Lee Fox. Well, he's not actually Italian, he is German, and there is a German league as well, the Nitro League, which is going on weekly. There's no set day that it will place at. There's no set time every single time, so you're gonna have to look that up on Liquipedia or Octane GG, new and revamped, to see where you can tune into that. I think they're in week 2 right now, so they're going to be going through that every single time. And then after that, well, some of the greatest teams come from France. And obviously you need to have a French league at that, the Rocket Baguette Rising Stars, who have a very interesting format. They have the waterfall format for their playoffs, basically meaning there are 5 series that are to be played, and the lowest seed goes up against the next seed every single time. That will start June 22nd with Homino versus Athletics. Athletics, who got knocked out by Sandrock in the RC Monthly. And then, well, I'm Dutch, as some of you might know, that, so I obviously have to mention the Rocket Benelux Summer Showdown starting June 12th. So maybe even at this time that you're watching this, it is live on Rocket Benelux right away. Is definitely a recommendation. Some of the greatest players of EU in general are playing in it. Make sure to give that a watch, but obviously EU is not the only region, and we're going to go back across the pond to Bass.
And welcome back to the States, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Hyferia. We're going to hear a little bit more from him later on in the show. But for right now, we're going to hop into America, where there's not really a lot going on, to be honest, at this point. Very few leagues went on, but we're going to get more to that in just a second. The first league I am going to mention, or at least I should say tournament at this point, is going to be Alpine Esports Avalanche 17. These guys have been doing a monthly league, or excuse me, monthly tournament for $500. And it's been phenomenal. They're almost about a year and a half into it at this point. First place taking home that, I believe, $350 of that 500 prize pool is going to be Squinkers. That is Poyo, Aqua, and Evo. If you guys don't know the 3 of those players, I highly suggest you look them up. All 3 of them are rising stars, as it would seem, here in the United States. They've done a really, really good job of just sort of showing off their talent in a multitude of different factions. So please go show some support and search up the 3 of those guys. Second goes to Insignia. That is Leaks, iRicky, and Fifi, which is more or less the new La Familia team. La Familia was a team that made it into the grid that I had actually the pleasure of casting along with Hyferia, and they didn't necessarily do that well. They had made a roster change previously where Chris was no longer on the roster, so now they're running with Leaks, Iriki, and Fifi, and I actually kind of like this move, but now it's not here nor there. They were able to show some of their prowess here, get second in this Alpine Esports Avalanche, and the third team to make it in there and take that third place was Fracture, Evan Cheese, and KX, which a team that's been around for quite some time. They've been doing pretty well over the last couple of months. They've been getting better and better as time goes on, but that's just one of the two tournaments that we're going to talk about, and yes, I say two because the number 2 tournament and the last tournament in North America we're going to be speaking upon is the Upsurge Premier League. It was $1,000. It's a league that had been going on since, I believe, April, and it has just concluded with first place going to Mirage. If you were here last week, this is no surprise to you. Mirage has been cleaning up tournaments left, right, and center, and for them to take another one of these leagues home really isn't that surprising. Second went to Lost Not Found, and third to Slaughterhouse Esports. All three really good esports foundations. They're really, really good teams, but unfortunately at the end of the day, there can only be one winner, and Mirage taking this is really not that big of a surprise. But that's all we're going to talk about for North America at this point. There really isn't that much going on in the scene right now, so we're going to hop down to OCE in Oceania region, where I had the pleasure of casting the Overlap Cup number 3. If you guys do not know what Overlap is doing for that region right now in terms of Southeast Asia, South Asia, and OCE, you really should go pay attention. These guys are throwing huge prize pools to a bunch of these countries that do not get nearly enough attention, and there's been some incredible stuff going down. Like I said, OCE Cup number 3, or excuse me, Overlap Cup number 3, OCE. I had the pleasure of casting this with Yummy Cheeseman. It was an absolutely incredible event with some really good players, and congratulations to everybody who was able to take home some money there. Number 1 going, or excuse me, first place going to Mind Freak. Really not that surprising. They take home the lion's share of that 400 USD they were competing for. Number 2 going to Sheesh, Sprat Kaka, and Ghost. Number 3 going to CJM, Leviathan, and Baked Potato, as they like to call themselves. CJ has a potato, or I call them CHP, this time CLP, because Leviathan was playing instead of Haza. But all three of those teams really do deserve a little bit more recognition. They've been playing really well, and matter of fact, I've actually got a clip to show you guys to just show the type of talent that is down there in the OC region.
The better squad, and not really much you can do in terms of those games where it's just, you know, one team is just better than the other. There's not much wiggle room for them, but there is a chance. This is Rocket League. Anything can happen, but Sweeper going to play off the back wall. Once again, going to find Kuma. It's like poetry in motion, Bass. So beautiful, so perfect, and Kuma going to claim credit.
I gotta appreciate that they're even throwing up the nice pass and great shot in chat, because they knew how clean of a play that was. Yeah, like I said, really good region, a lot of really good talent down there that deserves a lot more attention than it is getting right now, and I truly do believe that. I think we've got a lot of other countries that deserve a lot more attention, but unfortunately we don't always get the chance to highlight them here on the show. This time we were able to do so, and I hope that you guys can go check out Overlap and all the different cups that they're doing. They've got a Middle Eastern Cup coming up in just a little while, so if you want to see some of those teams that Hyferia had spoken about previously, such as Sandrock Gaming, well, you're going to want to go check out those Overlap Cups. They've got a ton more going on, and as I said, really good prize pools all around. These guys deserve a whole lot more attention from pretty much everybody in the scene. So a huge shout out to them. Thank you very much for having me on, allowing me to cast that with Yummy Cheeseman. And at this point, there really isn't much else to say for America. I want to shout out a couple more highlight tournaments coming up in the future here. The first one I want to mention is the ATL Open, Atlanta Community Open. They've been doing qualifiers every single week for about $175 with some really interesting talent coming through there. I really didn't expect this, but the first week we had Leaks and Iriki, one of the players that we just mentioned that had made RLCS previously, and or excuse me, not Leaks and Iriki, Leaks and Mektos. Mektos, a player for Ghost Gaming, who has done, well, a lot of many things in RLCS at this point. So if you guys don't know those two players, you really should, and you should go check out the Atlanta Community Open, doing qualifiers every single week for $175 in order to make it into a $500 tournament, which you guys should also go sign up for. They really have a really good pool of talent there, and if you guys want to look at more talent there, please go check out the Atlanta Community Open. And additionally, I also want to give a shout out to Philly Esports. They are doing a partnership with U.S. Army this weekend, so it's coming out on Saturday. There's going to be one tonight, a 2v2 tournament, and then a 3v3 tournament on Monday. The 2v2 is for $500, the 3v3 is for about $1,000, and you guys should absolutely go check them out because it's really good talent. Once again, these guys should get a pretty good pool of players to come in for this $1,000 tournament, but they're not necessarily getting as much coverage as I think that they deserve, so please go check them out. It's a really, really cool tournament, and they just deserve more coverage. There's really not much else to say besides that, and because there isn't really much else to say, we're going to move on to our second to last section of the day, trades and transfers. And Hyferia, welcome back to the booth, my friend. We now are going to move into the trades and transfer sections where you and I were talking about this before we got on. There's a couple of things here that have gone on, but for the most part, relatively quiet week from the trades and transfer section.
Yeah, the off season right now, I think a lot of teams are looking to play with someone else, but not actually committing that hard. I've seen some tweets out there from players saying, I'm keeping my options open, but for now I'm staying together. Yeah, there's a lot going on, but also not really anything set in stone right now.
Yeah, nothing set in stone right now. But speaking of, keeping my options open and looking around, that's going to lead us into our very first, multiple transfers of the day. Black Flame released 2/3 of their roster, and I say released a little bit not truthfully. They didn't release them. Two of the players, K-Frost and Mazo, just left. So...
Yeah, I saw a tweet from K-Frost about that. K-Frost said that they were just not really clicking with Sharif, either on the pitch or personally. I'm not too sure. They did not specify, but it just wasn't working out the way they would like to see it. So then they decided to move on and go back to what they were called before that. Something more noticeable, and a team that I actually felt has been going better and better, and it has been improving at a rapid rate. And that is Cuxer being put on inactive in Wolves. He got signed, what was it, just before Regional 3, and now they probably didn't get the results they wanted, and he's out again. They did not give proper time, and I think that's a little bit unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't really think it's fair in any way, shape, or form to what's going on with the Cuxer at this point. They really have been getting better results as time has gone on. It's a little bit unfortunate to see, but it is what it is. There's been a lot of pressure from a lot of different teams to continually make their rosters better and make these moves. So now that the offseason is here, it's not necessarily surprising to see some roster moves we wouldn't expect. One that you and I were talking about before we started here was a little bit of a joke from Turo on Twitter, who gave everybody a scare with a twit longer that basically meant nothing, but I'll let you guys go find out what that means if you want on your own. But for right now, we'll move on to our very next one. We're going to be talking about Hockey, who is just signed to Nefarious, and I say signed because Nefarious is not technically an org, but Buddy and Adam have found their third Hyferia.
Yeah, finally they have got a proper third, and I'm curious to see what Nefarious can actually do in that regard. Now that they are playing together properly, and I do hope that they give them a chance and give each other a chance to try and improve, try and adapt, because that's mostly in the bubble scene. On the topic of adapting as well, Tadpole, he had been playing under their Triple Trouble roster. They split up, so he is now kind of like Cuxer, also looking for different options. I can't really imagine that they are going to team up, though, because they're both kind of older and less mechanical players. Usually you want to have a smart player and just two kind of monkeys on the pitch. So it's going to be curious to see how Tadpole finds his way. He is very old, though, for the Rocket League scene at the age of 23, which is still young.
I mean, it's extremely young, but unfortunately for Rocket League, most of these kids aren't 15 and 16. The team that we talked about winning that Avalanche earlier, yeah, all three of them I'm pretty sure are 14. So kind of reinforcing your point just a little bit there. But some new up-and-comers that we can talk about is going to be Redundant getting signed to Taipan Esports. Congratulations to them. They won the APL, I believe, Indian Nationals, which is a huge accomplishment. It's absolutely massive, and they deserve to get signed to an organization like this. So congratulations to Hargun, Asphyx, and Abs Crazy. I apologize if I mispronounced any of your names. And also a shout out to their coach Spider and their manager Nano. I'm actually a huge fan of Spider. I think he's a guy that deserves a lot more attention, a top 100 1v1 player, and I'm just happy to see this signing, to put it simply.
With that signing, they did have a previous roster before that, and that was QC and Make-A-Wish, a team that we are pretty familiar with, who used to play under Team Volton. So does this give a kind of an insight to how much is being paid? Because QC and Mako, they are not the top level bubble players. I'd say they're pretty low tier bubble players. So now going into a country where wages are in general less, but the level of that team is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, they deserve to be paid a pretty high level. It's just sort of unfortunate that, the esports that are able to get in here right now are definitely starting to feel out, sort of test the waters, put it simply, feel out how much they're going to be able to afford for these players. So I really do hope that they're getting their worthwhile, but you never really know. And, that kind of somewhat transitions to our final topic here, because this one's a little bit of drama that we don't really know the insight here. I don't know if it's pay. We don't know what it could be, but Magix got kicked from the German Amigos roster. He was the manager of the entire thing, and then their Twitter went dark after after getting verified. So there's a lot of sort of question marks just thrown up in the air at this point. I don't really know what's going on. Hyferia, any speculations from you, my friend?
When you say he's the manager, he was also the coach, and according to their Twitter account right now, he's also the owner, so that might give a little bit of insight to what's going on behind the scenes. But I've got a little bit of a crazy theory about this, because on their Twitter, they changed their Twitter name to Statement Coming Soon. Yeah, sure, could add on to the beef. But then he also posted a tweet with Statement Coming Soon and then a picture underneath that. So now I'm thinking, why does he add a picture? Why is that necessary for when you're beefing? And my thoughts right now, and this is obviously a little bit out there, is that they're actually getting picked up by an org. And that's probably where the drama also comes from. And maybe that picture alludes to what org, and this is all just kind of a social media show.
I mean, listen, it wouldn't be the first time that we've seen that, and it would make a lot of sense considering one of the other things about German Amigos in this entire thing is that they got verified well before a lot of teams that had applied for verification. So them being able to get that verified and then kind of messing around with it, it would make a little bit of sense for them to, kind of ride the popularity while they've got the chance. So you never really know. We hope that it's as lighthearted as you and I are talking about right now, and it is not something more serious, because some of the bigger pros and bigger, I would say, figures in the scene have alluded to this being maybe possibly a dark subject. So we're going to hope that this one comes out with a little bit more of a lighthearted ending, but we're going to have to find out. For right now, that's the end of the trades and transfers section. We're going to move on to discussion, and discussion this week is going to be talking about IWO, the Intel World Open. If you guys don't know what that is, Intel is doing basically the equivalent of the Olympics at this point. They're taking a bunch of teams from different regions, putting them all up against each other, and making sure that it's the best of the competition from each of those regions. You might wonder how on earth they are getting the best of the best from those regions. Well, what they're doing is they're taking a bunch of qualifiers. They did 2 open qualifiers. They took 2 teams from each of those qualifiers into a closed qualifier. Those 4 teams in the closed qualifier will battle up against each other, and only one team will make it out. And a couple of those open qualifiers have now finished up, and we've got some of the teams that have made it through to those closed qualifiers. And it's not necessarily 100% surprising, to put it simply, Hyferia, but there are a couple of upsets here and there that have got you and I scratching our heads a bit.
Yeah, a few. The waiting simulator is finally open. I'm sure some of you might have caught that drama of it just taking forever and everything being best of 3. And, well, I just already think that is... Yeah, everything best of 3. Just don't. Just, if you're a tournament organizer, please just do not do that. But I think one of the only upsets, for me at least, was in the Europe West region, where Jorius' team... or, well, Ocelon, Jorius, and Mitane, with Violent Panda as a coach, they did not actually make it through. Whereas another Dutch team actually did, which we'll get into a little bit later.
Yeah, it's been rather surprising to see that. The big upset for me that I think I can really allude to here is going to be that, I think it's called Austin as they're going by. Austin's a team, if you guys don't know, it's a name that's kind of been thrown around here. There's a player in the scene named Austin who's just kind of been the butt of this joke for a little while. Multiple teams have named themselves after this. This iteration of Austin this time was Shock, Gyro, and Reddles. So that team did not make it. That should give you the caliber of quality of teams that did make it. And, well, I guess we'll start here. The team that beat them, that made it into North America, or excuse me, into the United States qualifier, is going to be Oxygen Esports, a team that not a lot of people had really been paying attention to, and they didn't just beat anybody to make it in here. Charlotte Phoenix and KCP played in this too. They did not make it through. The other team that made it all the way is going to be Ball Chasers, and that is Magic Bear, T-Var, and Wunda Mike. If you guys don't know the 3 of those players, 2 of them are professionals. T-Var is a player that's been in that scene for a little while, looking to get into a more professional scene, and has just, well, this could be the opening for him. But yeah, Oxygen Esports, Ball Chasers, and then Boulevard and Murica. Murica is going to be First Killer, Garrett G, and Chicago. I think they originally went as First and Friends and were not permitted that name. So, they get Murica now instead. Boulevard is AJ, Alraz, and Turnturo. And those are the 4 teams that are going to be making it through. Again, Murica, Boulevard, Ball Chasers, and Oxygen Esports. Realistically, of these teams, there's probably a couple of front runners. I would imagine you'd have to give it to Murica. First Killer, Garrett G, and Chicago. If that team performs, that's possibly the best team in all of the American side of IWO.
It was a very big meme on the subreddit as well, the RL Esports subreddit, where pretty much any time a new team would get announced, it's like, that team looks like it could do some damage. And that's the thing, a lot of teams look like they could do some damage, but in theory, there are not a lot of one nationality squads because, well, the chemistry it just is not really there. I'm curious to see how they will do, and just in general, and also on the German side of things, there are not necessarily any upsets that happen. It's pretty regular, but the Mannschaft, the Rizex, Toxin, Cataclysm with, on Wikipedia, still Coach Magix, which I don't think will hold up for that much longer, made it through in the first qualifier already, and then also Almonds, Freaky Tigray, and Goldsmilla. No big surprise whatsoever. Euronix Game, and one of the only actual teams from that region, Zedo, Neon, and Viziers. Neon making it to RLCS a few times. And that's last in open qualifier 2. It is Dönerfleisch, Alex, Leafox, and Crypto. So in general, that's what I feel with the German side. There are not that many players who are top tier RLCS level, but a lot of top tier bubble players.
Yeah, that's a huge part of it there. I really want to see Leafox do well. I mean, you and I got the chance to cast them in RLCS, and that's part of my bias there, but it's also been a player that's kind of been on that fringe of being able to make it into RLCS for quite some time now. Has struggled with a couple of teams, so this would be a good event for them to really pop off, and I think that would really do them wonders to sort of have a lot more eyes there. But at the same time, something that's kind of interesting about this entire IWO thing is that none of this has been casted yet. This is all closed qualifiers, making it open qualifiers going all the way until, like you said, because of the three best of threes earlier, they're going all the way until like 2 to 3 a.m. in the morning with teams trying to figure out who's going to make it through. So the fact that none of this we've really got, footage from an outside angle is an absolute shame, but, it is what it is. Eventually, we will get some real footage, and we will get some really good highlights of all of this stuff. But, for right now, we're just going to keep moving on, showing you guys all the different teams that have qualified. And like we said before, North America, or as it's labeled on Intel World Open, the Americas is not really that finished yet. There's not many squads that have made it all the way through, so we're only going to talk about the ones that have completely figured out who is going to represent their nation, or what teams are competing to represent their nation. And that nation would be Canada, the next one that we're going to talk about. And, because they're representing Canada, the first team we're going to talk about is named Canada. Canada is Joe Freshness, or just Freshness now. I continually call him that just because of his old name. Freshness, Rodoko, and Sosa. Jazzo is Squishy Muffins, J-Naps, and Illusion. Washed Up is Jordan Creams, Tito. And then Mirage is Vegas, Nebra, and Tech Oz. And again, Mirage is a team we've spoken about many times before this, Hyferia, but the unfortunate truth is with this type of pool of players, they've got their work cut out for them if they want to be the representatives of Canada.
Yeah, bubble team gonna make it through, or at least that's what's something that we've been alluding to a little bit. Mirage have been getting the results at least, but it's going to be an absolute battle. And I think the closed qualifiers will actually be streamed and casted from a main point. Obviously, all the individual streamers were, or some of them were streaming it. Well, at least on the Wikipedia page, there is a broadcast telling a section for that. So it's going to be interesting, but obviously I already mentioned it once today that France, one of the greatest regions for Rocket League, also have a specific closed qualifiers for themselves. And this is actually a really interesting one because the teams that made it through first were not the ones that you initially think. It was Atlantide Wave, sure, fair enough, very solid team. Second is Raging Raccoons, Atlantide Wave being Prime, Sizen, and Redosin, and then Raging Raccoons being Mavi, Econ, and Kizai. They're both incredibly solid teams, but that is not Fairy Peak, K-Dub, and Alpha 54, who only managed to make it through in the second qualifier. And in the first one, they dropped to Raging Raccoons, and then Ricardo, Kaka, Casio, Exotic, and Monkey Moon. That is going to be a battle and a half.
Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. You think about it. I mean, Vitality is one of those squads that way back when we were all talking about when they dropped Scrub Killer, what are they doing? Why are they doing this? And their entire reasoning is that they wanted a full French roster for, well, this. Now they get there and they kind of dropped the ball, to put it simply.
And maybe even marketing reasons as well. If you have a full French squad, no outsiders. It always does well with the Frenchies. They're a proud nation. In Rocket League, fair to them, Baguettes and Baguettes Uprising. Then we also have the Middle Eastern region, a pretty proud region as well of themselves, but they're not able to compete in RLCS. So this is one of those times where they have to pop off, where they have to show themselves. And obviously, that starts with the Ultimates. Just kidding, they're an amazing team, but Sandrock Gaming is obviously the most known team out of that region. Khaled, Senzo, and Ahmad. I think they're going to make it through, but they are going to have to take it up against Empty, which is impressive, Twiz and SMW, which is the Falcons as well, Faisal, Ali, and Venom, TRK as a fourth. Maybe they do a little bit of a rotation, give everyone a nice little spin. And then the Ultimates finally making it through in open qualifier to Zazonics. M7SN and AMS are going to be looking to cause some damage in that region.
Yeah, and honestly, all four of those teams are extremely capable. That's one of those things where I feel like they really did pull out all the stops in order to assemble those squads. Every single one of them has been extremely lethal. And just, again, if you guys aren't paying attention to all of these qualifiers, please start paying attention once they start getting broadcasted. They're absolutely insane. The talent level is absolutely ridiculous. And again, also, give some respect to the teams that are making it all the way through, because I saw so many people clowning on Mirage on Twitter trying to say that it wasn't, a big accomplishment. But my, oh my, you guys really do got to give more credit to these teams. They're very, very solid, and they deserve all the attention that they're getting. And one other region that I do want to highlight in terms of the Americas, because again, not all of them have concluded yet. They're still figuring out who that second batch of qualifying teams is going to be. I want to give a shout out to North and Central America, where we've got 4 different squads, which I'm not going to go through all of your names because I do apologize, because I have a feeling I might mispronounce a couple of them, as I will still mispronounce this name nonetheless. First one is Cade Mio Boost. Shout out to them. Shaolin Monkeys, Manji Esports, and Astral Gaming. Those 4 teams are your qualifying squad, so congratulations on making it into the closed qualifier. I hope that a lot more people are able to put some eyes on you guys and give you guys your rightful attention, because as we were saying, there's just a lot of really good teams here that do not get enough attention from these smaller nations.
Yeah, this is the time for them to show themselves towards the world, to really show that they have got what it takes to compete in RLCS. And well, some teams that they already have got what it takes. A very surprising first contender for the close qualifiers, Ados. Not going to mean anything to any of you, but these names: Will, Cuxer, Dead Monster, and Arju. A phenomenal squad, and they made it through first of the Europe West qualifiers. Absolutely ridiculous. And they have 2 Spanish squads, the first one being the town team, Zamway, CRR, and Dorito. And obviously, well, Team Queso, a full Spanish team already. They're going to be playing together, making it through as well. And then Dutch Pride, E-Team and L, making it through. My boy Tho and Oli over Jurius Ocelon, Violent Panda as a coach, and that's crazy. That's crazy to me. That they did not make it through.
It's crazy to me that they did not make it through. One of the more crazy things to me is, so do you know, did Queso not participate in the first one, or did they just not make it through on the first qualifier?
They did not make it through. They got dropped by Ados.
So,
Ados 2-1.
I mean, listen, I had heard that this squad had been working together for quite some time. The Cuxer, Arju, and Dead Monster squad, working as the quote-unquote Italian team for a little while now. Did not expect them beating Team Queso. Queso was on the rise in Europe. From going from regional champion to that is surprising, to put it simply, but congratulations to all 4 of those teams. Definitely got some really, really tight contests there. And speaking of tight contests, I think the only other team that I've got to speak about is no longer in the Americas. We go down back to OCE. We're going to be talking about Australia, the first of those 3 squads, or, well, 3 regions. They've got Australia, New Zealand, and the rest of Asia Maritime and Oceania. Those are the 3 that'll be competing for that Asia Maritime and Oceania region. And Australia's got their first 4 teams. It is going to be Dire Wolves over at Ground Zero Gaming and Cringe Society. And if you guys are aware of the region, not a single one of those names should surprise you. All of them pretty much expected to make it through.
Yeah, exactly. There are no massive surprises pretty much anywhere except for in the EU West. And I think Dead Monster actually tweeted afterwards as well, something saying, I'm really glad that I'm still able to show that I can compete on the highest level. And I'm glad for him as well. Since Space Troopers, it's kind of been going downhill. He was teamed up with apparently Jack, and now It's not really getting that much in there. And then we come to Bubble Mania, Europe East. I had a lot of bubble players. Budapest 5, a bubble team that's been playing in pretty much every single tournament that they can find. They've been grinding it out, but they only made it through in the closed qualifier, open qualifier number 2, and that's Nexi, Kokon, and Meshin. And it's very nicely divided. We go on to Poland, which actually has Virtuoso in there, currently residing in Poland, so he's able to participate with Vesh and Keto. A phenomenal squad, also making it through in open qualifier too. Check this out. Obviously, check, yeah. Haha, funny jokes for all of you. Nauman, Lossi, and Cyrax. Also a phenomenal squad, but I think this is probably one of the little bit less competitive EU regions when it comes to high-level RLCS players. You have the final team, Polska Gurum. No clue what it means, and sure. Open qualifier 1, Petrik, Nizaron, and Bruce.
Interesting. Yeah, definitely some more bubble players there than I would say RLCS, but I mean, it kind of begs the question at this point. That's where we're going to kind of take the rest of this discussion, unless I'm mistaken. Is there any other regions that have qualifiers finished up at this point that we have not mentioned so far?
No, currently, if you think, I left this region out, why are you not mentioning UK? Why are you not mentioning Japan? Why are you not mentioning this? It's still going on. So we can speculate all we want, but it's still going on. So we'll get back to you on that probably next week.
Yeah, but next week we're going to go back through all of the teams that have had either 2 qualifiers, because some people have had qualifier 1 where 2 teams have qualified and not qualifier 2, and some of them I don't even think have had the first one yet. So we're still going through all of those. But of the teams that we've gotten so far, there are definitely some notable names, and I'm interested. Obviously, you're going to have a little bit more insight into what's going on in EU, and I'm going to have a little bit more insight that's going on what's in NA, but front runners right now, because my front runner by far and away, at least in terms of America, out of both the United States and also and also Canada, as well as some of the smaller nations, such as, like we said, the excuse me, I'm trying to remember the name. It's the North and Central America. That's the official title for these guys. As much as I do want to give North and Central America a shot, and I mean no disrespect to them, I honestly don't think anybody is taking down Jazzo. Like, that's just the truth of this. As much as I think that the America First Killer, Garrett G, and Chicago are going to be a great team, Illusion, J-Naps, and Squishy Muffins is just, I don't know, it's just got that edge a little bit to me for some reason.
Think about I think I dreamt about them once. Talking is hard. Still dreaming as well. But I dreamt about them because they are that amazing. I wanted to be them in that specific coordination as well. They're absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, I think in general, and this is also in EU, that the extra regions, I don't even want to call them extra regions, kind of like extra modes that everybody disregards because, well, they are not as involved in RLCS, which is a little bit awkward for the comparison because, well, if you're in Sandrock Gaming shoes, I don't think any of them are making their living out of Rocket League. So they don't have a lot of motivation to grind, so you are not able to say how well could they do. Now with this, they might just be able to say, look, we're going to pick it up, we're going to grind, we're going to scrim, we're going to practice 8 hours a day and get ready for this, get our squad up there. And if they do that, I'm willing to give them a chance. If they're going to be playing as much as they were before, no chance of making it through further, and I don't really think that they're going to be much of a competition.
Yeah, the unfortunate truth is for a lot of these teams, they just don't get the opportunity to play against as high level of competition on a regular basis, which kind of holds them back from being able to play at this highest level, especially in a competitive environment, because this is kind of the difference between a bubble team and an RLCS team. There's a lot of these RLCS teams that will play against bubble players in ranked and will sometimes scrim them, and they'll do whatever, and, you know, the results will go back and forth. Either team will go which way or another. But it's when you get into an environment like this where there's money on the line, where there's a competition at hand, where everything starts to get a little bit different. So it's going to be a real test to see if regions like the Middle East, regions like the North and Central America can stand up against these squads. But like I said, front runners for me by far are going to be Jazzo. Behind them, probably for America, is going to be Merca themselves. But it's really interesting to see any front runners, at least in your opinion, that are coming out of just Europe as a whole, out of any of the qualifiers. I'd probably put my money on, again, I'm going to free, is it a pause? What is Dead Monsters team? How do you pronounce them?
I don't know how you pronounce it. It's Ados.
Ados? Whatever they are, I might just be calling them winners in a couple of weeks from now.
I'm going to go the contrary. I think they're going to do bad.
Interesting.
I think this is a one-time run where they just kind of had the one-up on them because they've been playing together for a decent amount already. And now when they're going to be playing against teams and have given them a little bit more time to scrim, then that honeymoon period is going to be over and they're not really going to be making an impact. And, well, that being said, Team Queso is definitely going to be one of the front runners, a long-standing team already who have been doing it pretty well. If they show up, they can massively show up. So Team Queso is definitely a team that I keep my eyes on. Obviously, I keep a little bit of a squinted eye to ETMNL purely because of pride reasons, not necessarily because I think that they're going to be doing amazing. And at that point, pick any French team. And okay, pick a number 1 to 4.
I mean, 3, because Vitality. I know it's Vitality, and Vitality is not getting enough spotlight for making into this because, again, they made this roster move, I want to say, almost a year ago now in order to prepare for this. So if that's not enough prep time, like you said, teams getting warmed up to this sort of international experience, I don't know what enough prep time is.
Well, I mean, I don't really think that they've been making that roster move purely to play this one thing.
Yeah.
But also Ferry and K-Dub had a little bit of difficulty communicating in English, if I do recall that correctly. But obviously, it very much helps in every single way. There were just more pluses than there were minuses, and this being definitely one of them. But there are so many teams, and that's why this is such a interesting event. You have no history of these teams together, except for a very limited few. I do question though, why is Vitality not playing under the name of Vitality? Do you have any speculations?
I have to imagine it's because the the people who run Vitality just don't want to pay them for this event because they probably pay them per season of RLCS. They may just not want to sponsor them during the off season, which power to you. I don't know. Maybe Vitality takes a cut if they win prizes underneath their name. At that point, though, we could be speculating all day. And similarly, at this point, we don't really have much else to say about these teams. I mean, obviously, we've stated our front runners at this point. It's really going down for you, it seems, any of the French teams, then a couple of odd exceptions there. For myself, it's really the front runners of the US and Canada so far. But as we've mentioned before, these are still ongoing. Most likely, we're going to come back next week, and we're going to have completely different speculations as the squads start to wrap up. So that's about it, Hyferia. Unless you've got anything else to say, my friend, once again, this has been the Rocket Recap. It's been a blast to talk to all of you guys. It's been a blast to inform you about everything. And if you have any more suggestions for things to add on to the show, please do let us know. I want to real quick shout out to the things going on in the next week that we recommend you go watch. For myself in North America, I have to recommend the Atlanta Community Open as well as the Philly Esports X US Army 3v3 and 2v2s. I'm casting every single one of those events, so it's both a self-plug as well as also that's what's coming up, and I really do recommend it. Okay, Hyferia, whatever. You're casting them too, so don't act like I'm not shouting you out as well. But we'll throw it over to you for Europe. Any teams that we should be paying attention to and leagues that we should be paying attention to?
Summer Showdown, baby. Rocket Benelux. Dutch Pride coming through once again. It will be in Dutch, but the casters bring the same hype. Apart from that, just make sure to check out any national leagues or keep up to date because it kind of will give you an insight to IWO, but that will be the teams for me at least.
Yep, and that will be it for the show. Thank you very much for coming through here, everybody. We will see you next week for the very next Rocket Recap. This has been the week of June 12th, 2021, and this has been a blast. We will see you guys next time. Have a good one.